Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harper and Rugby Preview Show on our YouTube channel. Please don't be shy with the like and/or subscribe button if you can. Join me to look ahead to Saturday's first knockout match of the season for Leinster is someone we're delighted to have back earning his 56th cap. Warm welcome to Mr. Mark Jackson.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me back.
No problem. Great to see you. Okay, well, listen, we're going to go straight into our feature match of the week, which is, of course, Leinster v Harlequins in the round of 16 of the 2024-25 Investec Champions Cup. This is a game taking place at Croke Park on Saturday, April the 5th, kicking off at 3 p.m. TV coverage is on RTE2 and Premier Sports 2. Leinster named their matchday squad at lunchtime on Friday. If you're watching on YouTube, it should be right there in the screen, or for pod listeners, you'll see it in the program notes. Now, Mark has picked out a couple of points about this Leinster team for us, starting with the back row.
Yeah, I've picked the back row to start off with because I think the battle with Quins will be an interesting one. I think Quins have got, it's almost a microcosm of their team in general. They attack well, they attack with a bit of flair, but defensively there's holes there to be found out. And I think the back row, and indeed in a few minutes when we talk about the centres, are two positions where I think we will have the upper hand. Jack Conan has had a great year. He's had a few injuries, but apart from that, he's been consistently really good. Obviously, Keelan Doris is a nightmare to play against. He's just an absolute nose coming to breakdown. And Josh van der Fleer is a solid seven or eight every game. So with the Quins back row being quite young, I don't. I think Evans is a good seven going forward. They're good over the ball, myself and Kenningham, but I think Don Brandt is a weak link. You know, again, a guy who is good ball in hand, but wouldn't be known for his defensive prowess, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Leinster's foreign players recently, and that's basically involved Conan. And of course, just last week we had Max Deacon, which is interesting because this is two number eights that are pretty much in the form of their lives, but they both come right up against the Leinster and Ireland skipper when it comes to being selected for a team. So it's a question of how you get them into the squad. And Conan is it's a good fit at the moment for us for six. And as we see, apparently there was an injury to James Ryan during the week, so that means on the bench you've got Baird coming in. He's covering the second row there, but you've got there's space for Deegan as well. So it's good to see that those two made it into the squad.
You know, in years previous, you might have been a bit worried with Max Deegan being into 23, but this year he stepped up massively, especially when guys have gone from the Ireland squad. Max Deegan has really put his hand up for selection in these bigger games, to say the least, with some really good quality performances. And obviously his swan dive at the end of last Saturday just put the cherry on the cake, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see a tie up between the team that went down to South Africa, and especially one that did so well, and this week's team. So it's good to see that link up there. Okay, so
Yeah.
your second point is about our centers.
Yeah, listen, there's nothing wrong with Robbie and Gary Henshaw, but we were all a bit surprised that Jordy Barrett, considering the hula he's come in with and how he's played, he's been nothing short of superb for Leinster this year. How that has worked out. Yeah, Barrett really does cover 10, 12, 15, 13 as well. So in the 23 jersey, if somebody goes down apart from probably wing, which Gary Ringrose will probably cover, you're looking at somebody on the bench there that covers it. But listen, you've got 5, 6 years of a partnership there that should have the upper hand, both in terms of continuity, but also the defensive side of things. Again, like the back row, I wouldn't want to attack against Henshaw and Ringrose. They both put in big hits over the years, and I think Gary might be a bit annoyed with how the Ireland selection went at the end of the Six Nations, that he's got a point to prove, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he brings on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a fascinating selection. I mean, during the week on our bonus chat, we had a go at picking the 23. And of course, it wasn't so much who you're putting in the team, it's who you were leaving out. I mean, I think we went for Barrett in the 12 jumper, but that would have meant Henshaw on the bench, which is, none of it made sense really. And there's other names, Jimmy O'Brien doesn't make this team. We were talking about who might play at 14. Tommy O'Brien has been playing really well as well. He could have been another link to the team that went to South Africa. But Jamie Osborne, great shout there as well, and we'll get good use of him. He's played on that right wing many times before. It's an interesting lineup all around. I mean, Tyke Furlong, it's great to see that he's available for selection. But Slimani has earned his start. You know, there's some big calls all around. We said last week that also maybe the 6-2 bench, maybe it's not so much needed now at this stage anyway. But you know, we're sticking with this traditional 5-3. I think Ross Byrne has kind of played himself into that second out half role as well. So there's a lot of interesting calls made throughout that team.
There's some serious form going across the squad. So as we said on the different WhatsApp chats and what you had last week with people on the pod, there's no wrong answers. You know, there really isn't. You can give really good reasons why any one of those guys, surname O'Brien or Byrne, can play in the 23, and you'd back them. You know, we might have been a bit more pro Kieran Frawley at the start of the year, but Ross has taken his chance. Unfortunately, Kieran Frawley hasn't. So not being into 23 might have been a bit of a fuss 6 months ago, but at the moment, no, you can't argue too much with the 23 that Leo selected.
Absolutely. And as for Ross Byrne, I'm going to keep this count going until it stops. This is his 19th match day squad in a row out of 19 for Leinster this season. It's
You know,
quite an achievement. You don't see it often.
The best ability for coaches is availability, and he definitely has that in his back pocket at the moment.
Absolutely. Okay, so now it's time to have a quick look at Harlequins. They qualified fourth in their Champions Cup pool behind Toulon, Glasgow, and the Sale Sharks, and they currently lie sixth in the 10-team Premiership with 9 wins and 9 defeats. You watch a good bit of the Premiership over there. What do you make of their lineup, Mark?
They're inconsistent. They're like a lot of Premiership teams. There's a couple of teams at the top of the Premiership who have consistency in Bath and Gloucester and a bit of Sale, but Quins are very much. They're a good club, you know, male and female side of things. They've got their act together. Their academy as well. A lot of that may have been a few years ago when they were hosts to London Irish. You know, they took a lot of good from London Irish Academy at the time. And honestly, the work they do in the community is great over here. And I put my hands up and say Quins are a good club. But are they at the top level of Leinster at the moment? I don't think so. You know, they've lost a couple of South Africans in Wilco Low and Esterhausen, and they're big losses, and they haven't really replaced them. They don't spend money willy-nilly that they don't seem to have. They've got some good cover in, and they have a lot of good young guys in their academy coming through. So I think Quins in 2 or 3 years might be a different story, but at the moment, they're inconsistent. They've got some good players again going forward, but like most of the Premiership teams, for me, from what I've seen, defenses are very inconsistent and porous. And with Leinster being one of the teams that hold on to the ball better than other teams, I think there will be definitely chances for a lot of try scoring opportunities on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of names in their lineup that Leinster fans will recognize. I mean, we all know Lee Halpenny, but of course, there's Marcus Smith, Launchbury, Cunningham South, Don Brandt, right throughout the team. But then again, you say it's about the consistency, and a lot of those players wouldn't have been playing with him throughout the season. A lot of these players would have been playing at a different level as well. They've got their Premiership Cup. They would have been playing a lot of those matches recently as well, and their form hasn't been great. So I suppose it does make sense. They're such a low seed in this draw.
They kind of they snuck in sort of the back door, and is when we come back to this argument, is 32 teams too many coming into this time of the year with the amount of rugby that's being played? You know, they wouldn't have got into a last 16, and they're just about snuck in here. And hopefully, I think we've seen it enough in recent form from Leinster B and C selections down in South Africa, but also the consistency of the A selection side. We should put this lot away quite easily, I would have thought. Again, as I said, they attack quite well, so they can't be put on the long finger. But really putting pressure on Quins, they do seem to succumb to teams like Bath last week, put them away in any number of ways. Bath were quite impressive last week, but Quins didn't really put up that much of a fight. And I would expect a similar sort of result this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully, like our defense has been a pretty decent feature of our game throughout the season, and hopefully we can keep up those standards. Okay, so now a quick look at the officials. It's an all French team with Pierre Brousset holding the whistle. The weather for North Dublin on Saturday afternoons looks decent, 12 degrees, spells of sunshine. Might be a little bit windy, but no chance of rain. Not quite as good as it was down in South Africa last week, but still good for Dublin nonetheless. So hopefully that's good for all the crowd going. All right, Mark. Listen, we're gonna have a quick look at the other matches this weekend. There's a lot going on. The round of 16 in both the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup. What one match stands out for you?
Obviously, the Roland O'Gara game, Munster La Rochelle, stands out. Um, you'd expect La Rochelle at home to be pretty hard to turn over, but we all know Munster always bring their best game for Europe, and La Rochelle really haven't had the form of previous years in the top 14 as such. So it could be a lot tighter than people probably predict over there, but it's a big old La Rochelle pack that they've picked as per usual. So if they get on top, Munster will find it very hard to compete in that game.
Yeah, I still have a night. Some of those names still having nightmares from the Aviva a few weeks ago with some of those names in that Rochelle pack. But listen,
Yeah.
that's a fascinating match for sure. And of course, the other provinces, Ulster. I don't know if they fancy their chances much out in Bordeaux, but and they might be better off focusing on the URC anyway at this stage of the season.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Will Ulster might actually have a favourite done for them. Bordeaux seem to be resting a couple of players, so if that happens, it might not be the whitewash that people expect, but it is still going to be a tough ask for the Ulster men down in Bordeaux.
absolutely. And as for Connacht, I mean, they've got themselves in a position where, they've got a first seed. They're ironically playing Cardiff this weekend. If they can keep up the form they had from the pool stages and bring that into these, I know they don't have Mac Hansen, but they've got Bondiaki and they still have a decent lineup there. If they can keep that form going throughout that competition, they might find themselves going back to Cardiff, all going well.
Yeah, the crazy thing is they probably got one of the worst draws in Cardiff. Cardiff have actually having a pretty decent season. You know, Sherrod has them playing some good rugby, and they've not been the walkover they've been in previous years. So if Connacht bring their A game, it'll be a cracking game all around, and one that hopefully they end up back in Cardiff in a couple of months' time.
Absolutely. And I'd say Sherrod, by the way, is absolutely delighted to be back to the club after the way the last couple of months have gone for him. You never thought to say that about someone getting
Yeah,
a test call up. Okay, so listen, it's head on the block time, Mark. How do you see it going in Croker on Saturday?
I think I think Queens will stick around in the first half, but I think the second half on the benches will cause us to pull away by 20, 25 points in the end here. That's what should happen. But if we keep our discipline and keep possession and sort of frustrate Quins, they are an ill-disciplined side and an inconsistent side, and we can expose that if we're smart. I think
Yep.
25 points is probably a decent shout.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, I'm too superstitious to even book anyone for the quarterfinal podcast the following week. But listen, those are definitely with home advantage in the form of the competition. Those are definitely the expectations for sure. Okay, listen,
Yeah.
we're gonna leave it there, man. Many thanks to Mark Jackson for joining us. Hope to have you on again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Jeff. Always a pleasure.
No problem. And many thanks to you all for checking out our latest preview show. If you can, tune into Dublin South FM for the 5 o'clock news. You'll catch our latest Harpin segment. And then be sure to enjoy the match wherever you are and leave a comment on our Facebook page after the full-time whistle. We will, of course, have our wrap pod for you, which record on Sunday night. Hopefully, you'll help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.